Update 34, Curveballs. In short, there's over 30 random effects or events that can either help or hinder your survival in the zombie apocalypse. The following footage is condensed from a 3.5 hour live stream. If you've got a spare 3 hours, I'll leave it linked in the description. And the following is what happened when the Lizard Gang cult met Update 34. Curveballs. So like I said, curveballs are random, but the first two will always remain the same. Grossest shit just happened to me. I plunged my knife into a zeb with purple eyes, and it fucking exploded. I was covered in guts, and that shit burns. So our first obstacle to compete with is gunk zombies. And while we're waiting for those zombies to become active, I have an outpost that's become infested, and it's time to clear that shit out. It's a building outpost, and since it's become overrun, I'm now losing a substantial amount of building materials a day. Although on the way, I do get rear-ended by a homicidal pack of puppies, but that seems like an insurance scam to me, so I'm getting the hell out of here. So I get to the unfinished house and I've got one plan in mind. Burn the entire thing to the ground. That clears the infestation, but there's still a lot of zombies about, including the new gunky fuckers. And it's advisable not to get in a fist fight with them, as they'll burn your skin and that. And this being lethal zone, shooting them will just cause more to spawn. But what can I say, I'm an out of the box kind of thinker. Oh, that health is dropping. That health is dropping very fast. It's all good. And that is how you cheese lethal zone. And what I mean by that is I set a load of landmines through my outpost defences. I also notice another infestation nearby, and seeing as it's only around the corner, Gaz decides to stretch his legs a bit. And for science, it's time to melee attack our first gunk zombie. Oh, wow. Oh, it continuously kills me. But have I ever told you the definition of insanity? I clear the infestation, then start the excavation of resources in this local area. What can I say? You can take the man out of Britannia, but you can't take the Britannia out of the man. But before we get to that, I continue with my scientific research. And remember kids, the difference between science and dicking about is writing it down. But I'm an undiagnosed dyslexic, so maybe I'm not a scientist after all. Perhaps I'm just like fully psychotic. Hey, look at him! He's like a little worm. Come on son, come on little worm boy. Whoop, don't think so, bitch. I stabbed the armoured zombie in the head, but it turns out he's a gunk zombie. And for whatever reason, the gunkiness was delayed. Anyway, like I was saying, I make sure to loot the entire area, and once my car boot is full of goodies, I decide to head back to base to give Gaz a little rest. And while we're driving back with nothing much going on, now would be a fantastic time to remind you to like the video and subscribe. God damn, I'm getting good at this segue shit. So as Gaz gets back to base, the explosive gunk zombie curveball ends. Now we need to let Gaz rest for 5, as I know the next tutorial curveball would be the Lone Raider. And Gaz is my only character with Gunslinger, so I kinda want him to have to deal with the hostile enclave. So in the meantime, it's time for a bit of a training montage. So I've taken over as Hooch, who's practicing his aim by blasting into faces. But unloading his weapon into the faces of zombies isn't the only thing that he needs practice at. Luckily, he has a big long stick, and for once I'm not making an innuendo. He also gets into a fight with a blood feral, but he's completely out of energy drinks. Luckily, being a member of the Lizard Gang means he knows how to deal with being set on fire. Once he gets enough distance between himself and the beast, he turns to face him and readies his rifle. Oh Jesus Christ, talk about bloody timing. If you ever get into this situation, you haven't got any explosives. The key is to always put as many obstacles between you and the feral, and pray someone comes to your rescue. Well, I think Hooch has done enough training for one day. It's time for Jermaine to do a bit of zombie slaying training. Remember, Jermaine is addicted to lean, and that has somehow given him a 20% resistance to the blood plague. So before the next zombie outbreak, I'm going to my local Tesco and raiding them of all their Colvonia. It might be the cough medicine with clout, but I'm telling you it doesn't have as much clout as this baseball bat. So Jermaine completes his training session, then we finally promote Gaz as leader. But we are still yet to have the next curveball spawn. So seeing as we're getting quite low on supplies, Gaz takes off in the Vandito to do a supply run on the other side of the map. Oh, there's a blow, there's a blow, there's a blow. Fuck off! Well, that hampered progress a little bit, but the Hordes decided they couldn't be asked to chase a free meal. So we head onwards towards our destination. I loot this petrol station in the most surprising way possible by not alerting any of the zombies to my presence. But that's a rucksack of fuel stored and a full tank ready to go. As night properly starts to set in, I arrive at my gun shop. On this occasion, I decide not to activate the outpost defences, so I can save as much ammunition as humanly possible. So I loot this auto shop and the scrapyard next door, and then move on to claiming some of the goodies from the play carts I've taken out previously. I collect fuel from this heart, then get into a minor road traffic collision on the route to the next play cart. Yeah, That happens a lot, chat. If you're new around here, cars spend more times on their roof and sides than they do on their four wheels. But I'm able to continue my looting at this house, although admittedly I do get into a bit of bother with the neighbours. But whatever, I'm rewarded handsomely for my efforts. I do this several more times, collecting building materials from this warehouse, an ammo resource from this military checkpoint, then more building materials and food rucksacks from these buildings over here. A survivor then radios asking for my assistance, and sensing some easy loot, I decide to give them a hand. This knobhead has the shittest name of all time, and he's asking if I'd watch his back while he scavenges for high value materials nearby. But he's gonna look like a right knob, because I've already looted everything there is to find at this warehouse. Even so, he reckons he might be able to find something valuable hidden, so I'm like, crack on son, I'll go stamp on the faces of the undead. He then claims he found something valuable, but we all know he's chatting shit. But he gives me a damn fourth slugger for my effort, giving me a baseball bat. What a prick. I then agreed to help out an enclave of medical professionals. They're looking to get set up so they can start supplying a health service to the rest of the town. But the term medical professional is a bit ambiguous in my eyes. At the end of the day, the last thing I want is a dentist giving me a cancer diagnosis, if you know what I mean. So I chat to their leader, Will, but before we can finish our conversation, we get attacked by raiders. But that's alright, because Gaz has enough ammunition to overthrow a third world government. They are very grateful to still be alive and give me a rucksack and Nurofen as a thank you. I then trade what little influence they had for some high valuable alcohol I had lying around the place. And my pockets are way too full, so unfortunately I can't even raid the corpses. It's always a bad day when you can't make most of the baddies you've just slaughtered. So Gaz heads back to the container fort and unloads his spoils of war. I then swap back to Jermaine to complete his training. The plan is to max out his standing so he can make the most of his hero bonus. So armed with a 30-round shotgun, he heads to take on a player cart. And as always, he parks it strategically before heading inside to release hell on it. Well, at least that was the plan before everyone's least favourite crackhead rocks up. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Oh shit. Jermaine manages to escape his encounter. I smack it square in the gob with a Molotov. But as the crowd start to get too big, I retreat to the safety of the Impaler's roof. From here, I put a couple of rounds into the heart, kill the feral, but then accidentally gas myself with a bloater gas grenade. Thankfully, I managed to get off a fuel bomb to detonate it, but it's fair to say Jermaine has taken a hell of a lot of damage. Thankfully, 2 more shots drops the player card. As always, I'm still a greedy little bastard and want to take all of the goodies from that heart. So I do the whole massive loud loop tactic to get them all out of the house. From there, I can get back pretty safely and take everything I can get my grubby little hands on. And seeing as Jermaine is closer to death than Russell Brand's courier, it's time we went back home and put him to bed. But not in the way Russell did. Allegedly did. Next up to bat is Hooch. And at this point, I'm 2 hours into this session and the only curveball we've had is the first. I'm starting to wonder whether or not it's glitched. I played quite a lot of the PTR and it never took this long for the second one to spawn. Again, I'm trying to max out Hooch's standing so we can take advantage of his hero bonus. And I figure the best way to do that is to take out another player card. And you know what they say, don't work harder, work smarter. So I try luring in the bloater for the easy kill. That goes slightly better than you'd expect. So basically it didn't do a smidge of damage to the player card, but at the same time I didn't die horribly. Ah, would you look at that. Balance in the world has now been restored. Oh my god, that's the second time today that I've been fucked by myself. Would you like to rephrase that? Not like that, obviously. I get to the safety of the roof of the Impaler just as the feral decides to show his face. I then waste way too much ammo just trying to hit the thing. Fucking stay still! Self-proclaimed professional gamer, by the way. With that nuisance out of the way, I can finish the heart with my large stick. And again, not an innuendo. I then whip it out and finish off a full load. I can then loot the heart, yada yada yada, you know the deal by now. But with Hooch's standing still not maxed out, I agree to go check out the local disturbance. I boot in the door but discover all the people inside have been murdered. Their bodies have been penetrated with crossbow bolts, which is the sign of an extremely lazy archer. You'd never see Daryl Dixon doing that shit, you know what I mean? On one of their bodies I find a note that was quite clearly written by a deranged madman. And like every great serial killer from history, they must have left a return to sender address on the back of that note, because I somehow know exactly where to find them. So I approach Trisha, really wary of what kind of psychopath I'm about to come up against. I then realise the entire gang is full of psychos, so I decide to recruit her to the cult. But she's like, nah, fuck off, you twat. And you know what the worst thing about being rejected by a psycho is? Sadly, I no longer have the option to kill her. You know what, that got a bit dark. Let's get out of here rather sharpish. But before I do, I realise I can upgrade Hooch's shooting skill. Gunslinging! Yes! I need my gunslingers, chat. I need my gunslingers. So after that, a semi-accomplished Hooch can retreat back home. Unfortunately, he didn't quite max out his standing, but given his health, I think we're just gonna take the L on this one. So now it's back to Robert Talbot, who's feeling like Billy Big Bollocks all of a sudden, as he wants to use Eagle Eye's rifle to take down a juggernaut, which he can actually do incredibly easily. 4 swift headshots with the 50 cal drops him to his knees, but no thank you my friend, I'm a married man and frankly she scares me more than you do. I've also noticed there's a triple pack of knobheads hanging out nearby. Alright, make that a double pack. Okay, I think I'm gonna learn to deeply regret that decision, especially considering my aim is worse than Tyson Fury's pull-out game. 7 kids, that fucker's had now. 7? Jesus Christ, I feel sorry for his missus vagina. Anyway, I should stop talking about the hardest fucker in the world's wife and skedaddle before any more ferals turn up. Anyway, that's Robert's day shift over with, and we still haven't had a curveball spawn. But surprisingly, that's okay, because our next greatest character is about to be created. No, ignore that for fuck's sake. This is Jamie, and so far she's been a bit part character in our adventure. But today she's about to become one of the most valuable characters in State of Decay history. She agrees to go sell some of our leftover shite to a mysterious trader. These guys usually have 2,500 influence, and I intend to take every single cent. I sell him a load of my alcohol reserves before realising he has a firearms training manual for sale. So I check Jamie's skills, and both her cardio and fighting need to be upgraded, and they upgrade to powerhouse and swordplay respectively. That will be a phenomenal combination when paired with gunslinging. So I use the training manual and change her skill from assault to gunslinging. Now once I give her a sword and max out her swordplay, she will be the ultimate zombie slaying machine. And with powerhouse I'll build a dropkick ferals to stun them. But before we get ahead of ourselves, I still got way too much shit I need to sell to this wandering trader. But sadly I won't get a chance to sell him half of it, because as a horde starts wandering past, he decides to start blasting. This attracts a bloater and a juggernaut, and the best way to deal with juggernauts is to outpace them. But there's one thing, well more accurately 3 things that you just can't outpace.
Heads up, barrel!
This is actually really bad. You can say that again, but this is actually really bad. Oh, my eyes widen as the realisation sets in. I've just spent $1,500 on creating the ultimate zombie survivor, just for her to die on the doorstep before I can even fully equip her. But what do we say to the god of death? Absolutely fucking not. Jamie manages to put enough distance between herself and the pack and heal her blood plague. Now undeniably the smart play right here is to run, but I'm not a smart man. I'm a greedy man. A big fat greedy bastard if you will. Because you see in my head I still reckon I'm gonna kill these 3 ferals and that juggernaut and sell the rest of my wares to that mysterious trader. But yeah, turns out that's not gonna happen. So with that wheeler dealer now being used as a juggernaut flashlight, I get out of there quicker than a knobhead can comment, skill issue. Luckily there's a red talon trader on the map that I can still sell to. And this is where things are gonna get controversial, because I decide to sell the Clio core. Look, I'm sorry, but since it's been nerfed, it's basically useless. And I got no plans on using it, so I might as well sell it so I can feed the wife and kids. But it was without a doubt worth it, as I got myself a new gun and sword. As well as a lot of spare influence as well, alright? Don't shout at me in the comments. Then in the heart of darkness, I decided it would be a great use of my time to help out some strangers. I tried to keep their defense as quiet as possible, but if they're whipping out their guns willy-nilly, then you can be damn straight I'm gonna do the bloody same. But finally, karma rewards my patience. There we go! A curveball has finally spawned, but for some reason it's not the Lone Raider. I'm guessing it's a glitch. Either that or they've changed something and haven't let us know yet. Thankfully we're able to clear out the rest of the zombies, and the fuckers don't even give me a cup of tea like. I mean, I don't like tea, it's disgusting, but that's beside the bloody point. But hey, at least we finally got a curveball to spawn, and it's called Scavenger Hunt. So our community will be deposited more into the supply locker, but the downside to that is we have a higher background noise coming from the base. But the problem I find with that is it doesn't actually tell you what item has been scavenged. Actually got quite a few of these pop-ups to tell me a new item had been scavenged, but with an already established community it's almost impossible to establish what's new and what's old in my supply locker. Then while on a looting run I get another curveball spawn, and it seems we've become famous on Instagram. Bloody hell, they're like buses, man. You wait nearly 3 hours for a curveball to spawn and they all pop along at once. This curveball's called News Travels, and effectively the word of all of our good deeds had spread to the nation, which means we get things for a lot cheaper. Nobody mentioned the hundreds of people we murdered along the way. Anyway, it's time for Gaz to go settle a dispute, and typically it's only on the other end of the bloody map. There's this lad who's named Aaron. Well, that's very rude, Aaron, and if you want the sheriff to solve your dispute, that's not the way to treat me. He's complaining about knobheads pulling out guns on him when he's walking past, but I'm more interested in all the discounts I can get from being Instagram famous. Give me those mollies. Give me that, and the energy drinks. I then speak to Raven, and she's like, this dickhead keeps leading zombies directly to our house. And I'm like, well, in that case, it's your right to shoot the fucker. Aaron's not too happy about that, but he fucks off off into the night, probably to get eaten by a blood feral or something. And with that dispute settled, it's time to start heading home. Well, that is until the last medics radio me and asking for my assistance. It turns out they've been attacked by yet more raiders. Honestly, what the bloody hell's going on with these guys? That's like the second time in the past hour that they've been attacked by knobheads. Knobheads are the alive kind, may I add. At this point, I think they need to accept at least 40% of the blame. And on that note, I think it's time to end. Thank you very much for watching. It'd be great if you could like and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on update 34 in the comment section. Personally, I think this is a really good update that will add a lot of variety to the replayability factor. But I understand there's certain old fuckers who are just set in their ways and don't like any change. But at least those people will be able to turn it off in the settings menu.